What's up, people? In this video we're going to do something a little bit different. You're going to get to look at my beautiful face the entire time. Hopefully you think it's beautiful. In this video we're going to talk about, I don't know, maybe we'll say 5 reasons why you should not join the IDF. Like, who's even considering that? Like, do any young Jewish people even watch my channel who are of the age where they could possibly go join the IDF? Maybe you will find this through a search on Le Google. Anyway, as you may or may not know, I moved to Israel and joined the IDF when I was 22. I feel qualified to speak on this subject. I had no experience with Israel, didn't know anything about it. I actually fought there and I thought I would see sand dunes and people riding camels, okay? So like, I knew nothing about it. And you know, you could say that this video is like 5 reasons why you should not join the military also, right? Not saying that my experience was bad, however, I want to show both sides of the choice that you have, because it's not all gumdrops and roses and cool shit that you end up doing. A lot of it is pretty awful. So this video specifically is going to be talking about reasons why you should not do it, or let's call it negatives about moving to Israel and joining the army, making aliyah, all of that fun stuff, which I think is worth considering. However, I will give a final disclaimer and say that overall I think it is beneficial for most people who are, let's say, young Jews in Western countries to move to Israel and serve in the IDF and do their time, if that appeals to you. Okay, if you're tempted about it, I think it's worth doing. If not, doesn't appeal to you, you know what you want to do, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor, you want to like go to college, maybe be an engineer, like whatever, fine, do your thing, it's all good. If you're thinking about it, here are, I don't know, 5 reasons why maybe you shouldn't want to do it and why it's a bad idea. Reason number 1, the army sucks. The army is fucking shit. Oh my god, it is not fun at all. It is not fun, okay? It sucks, all right? Straight up. Like, you're going to be spending most of your time bored, hating your life, questioning your decision, and wanting to get out, and like thinking of ways to get out early. That's like what you're going to be spending most of your time doing. To be fair, you do have moments of pleasure during this time. It's not like 100% bad all the time. It is mostly bad a lot of the time, but you are able to sneak in moments of pleasure and joy periodically. Like, let's say you're sitting down to eat lunch, you know, in the middle of your day, you sit down with 4 or 5 other people, somebody cracks a joke, you laugh, it's funny, you get that moment of pleasure, and you learn to appreciate those things and even seek them out a bit more. However, if you're in a combat unit and you're not in a special unit, a lot of the time you will be guarding. You'll be doing guard duty. Guard duty is not fun. You'll be staring into space doing nothing. If you're at a checkpoint, you'll probably be checking IDs of, you know, Arabs basically, and hating your life and like wondering what you're doing there. Like, why am I checking this like guy that just wants to go to work? Again, to be fair, it's a necessary evil, we could call it, right? You have to protect the borders. You can't just like let anybody through without checking, I guess. But it sucks. It's not fun to like basically, I don't want to say harass people, but it just sucks. The army sucks. It's not fun. You donate years of your life to do it. There are benefits to that. Like I said, that's not what this video is about, so we won't really go over those too much, but mostly it sucks. Okay, that's reason number 1. Reason number 2, you are interrupting your potential career growth, right? Like, let's say you're 18, 19, 20 years old. If you did not go spend 2 to 3 years in the military, you would be spending those years in university, learning something, studying something, presumably not a liberal arts degree, something actually useful that has an application to your career of choice when you get your degree, okay? If you don't have, like if you're just gonna go study psychology, like sorry, but that's not very useful. I studied philosophy, also not very useful, right? If you have an exact idea of what you want to do, you know, okay, I'm going to go study electrical engineering. I love building electrical clocks, whatever, I don't know, whatever people do with electrical engineering. You want to go do that, fine, go to college, do your thing. But like, if you go and you take 2, 3 years of your life, probably more, including all the time, you know, because it's not like you move to Israel and you join on the first day that you get there. You got to move there, you got to join, you know, you go to a kibbutz, maybe join Gerlin Sabah. It takes time, you know, before you actually go in and you start your first day of basic or whatever it is, right? It takes time to do that. So like, plan on an additional year, let's say, of preparing time, let's call it. 6 months to a year, we'll say. And you know, that's like, okay, fine. In the grand scheme of things, is 2 to 3 years really going to make that big of a deal in your career? Probably not. But when you are, let's say you go in at, I don't know, I went in at 22, got out at 25, still didn't have a degree at 25, didn't really have any major work experience to speak of. At 25, I had no degree, no work experience. Like, you start in the job market at 25, like, kind of started at a disadvantage, right? I could have gone and worked in security or like a more security type job, but I was so over like anything to do with the military that like I wanted nothing to do with any of that type of lifestyle at all. So I didn't really see that as an option, as tempting as it was, because sometimes, you know, the pay is very good. But for me, it wasn't an option. I didn't want to do it. So keep that in mind, right? You might be hamstringing yourself a couple years down the line. Reason number 3, I guess, is that you will be away from your friends and family. Okay, this is not something that really bothered me so much. Not because I didn't like my friends and family, of course I did, but because I wanted some adventure, right? And you're not going to find adventure in your hometown. There's a famous quote, I forget what it says, but it's something like, nobody becomes a prophet in their own land, something like that, right? It's Shakespeare, something like that. No man becomes a prophet in his own land, something like that, which means like wherever you're from, that's where you're from. That's how people know you a certain way. It's highly unlikely that you're going to rise up and conquer your old self and completely change in every single way, or the ways that you want to change, without going to a new place. Okay, so again, I'm really like, it's not so many negatives, I guess, or reasons to not go. It's technically a reason to go, but you have to keep in mind, your parents aren't going to be there, right? I don't know how close you are with your parents or how much you rely on them. Your friends also aren't going to be there. So like, if you've never left your hometown, it might be tough for you to be away from your friends for several years. Like, I'm not going to say you'll lose contact with them, but you know, your friends from high school or the neighborhood or whatever, a couple years go by, and meanwhile you've had this experience where you've been to a dozen different bases, you've done all these training exercises, you've suffered, you've learned another language, you've adopted another culture, you've lived this completely different life, right? When you go back, you know, not only have you not spoken to them or spoken to them less, maybe just on social media for a very long time, but now you have very different, a considerable percentage of your life is a very different life experience, okay? Which brings me to my next point, which is that the military, doing the military, especially as a lone soldier from a Western country who chooses to move to Israel to join the Israeli military, it makes it very hard to relate to other people when you get out, right? Because like, hold on. It's a very unique yet very formative experience that is hard to relate to unless somebody else has had that experience. And sure, this is the world we live in. Everybody's gonna have different experiences. Nobody's gonna have the same 2 things. But like, compare this to like, let's say college, right? Everybody goes to fucking college. Like, okay, you went to like this college or that college. It's basically the same. You go, you sit in a lecture, you write a paper, and that's it. You know, maybe you go to some parties or whatever, right? But like, to leave your country, America, let's say, and move to Israel specifically and join the Israeli army as a lone soldier, serve in that army for 2 to 3 years, and then get out, that's a very unique several years that, statistically speaking, only 100 people, if that, per year will have, okay? 100 new people per year. So like, not a lot of people out there who can relate to that. So it's hard to, I don't want to say it's hard to relate to people after that, because like, really, how much do you actually need to relate to people in a given day? You know, you just got to get out there and suck it up and do what you got to do to live your life, right? But it's something that, especially in the first few years after you get out, is noticeable, because you notice that people are just a little softer who've not done any time in the military, right? Like, people who've been in other militaries, right, or any military, really, a little bit easier to relate to them, but the aspect of like leaving your country and joining, you know, another army where you don't speak the language, or like under, you know, it's just different, right? Another potential negative is that you might have like post-traumatic stress, right? And it might not necessarily be, although this is certainly possible, it might not be from watching anybody get killed or any sort of combat, right? It could just be from you being too mentally weak to deal with the stress of the military. It's entirely possible, right? I know some people who, they got out, never recovered, right? Sometimes it took them a couple of years to fall, but they blame the military for like weakening them, I guess, or traumatizing them. So that's also something to keep in mind. Another reason you shouldn't join is because there's no guarantee that you'll get into the unit that you want, right? When I joined, I really wanted to be in a unit called Duvdavan, right? Which is a unit that specializes in house-to-house combat, physical combat specifically, and they do a lot of Krav Maga, and I wanted the like tough guy, badass, like that's what I wanted for myself, and that's why I wanted to join. I did the test, right? It's called the Gibush. I did the test to get in, passed the test, failed the interview. So I ended up going to just a regular infantry unit, and you know, it's not the same, really. The special units are, they're just better than the infantry, right? You can train on your own time and you can still be the best soldier that you choose to be at any given time. However, being a good soldier in infantry is more about being responsible and doing your fair share of the work and motivating other people to do their fair share, as opposed to, and you can make the argument that special units, there is the motivation aspect to that as well, but there's less like, it's less about the technical aspects of being a soldier, hand-to-hand combat, like, you know, arresting bad guys, firefights, stuff like that is less common than it is in the special units, or operations, I guess we call it in America. So you might not get into the unit that you want to get into, and you will be depressed, straight up. You will be depressed when you get in, and you will stay depressed for a very long time, because it takes time to adjust to the realization that you've got a several year commitment ahead of you, where you will not be doing what you imagined yourself doing for that very long time before you went in. I imagined myself training in physical combat every single day, right? And doing cool shit when I was in the military. Instead, I was fucking scrubbing toilets, cleaning bathrooms, and doing quote unquote Krav Maga once every like 3 months, which was basically just some like Russian guy beating the shit out of us for 2 hours at a time. That was our Krav Maga. Okay, cool. Like, not to say the army was overall a negative experience because of that, absolutely not. You get good things out of the army, for sure, but you don't get what you expected. You get other good things, right? Make another video about that, but whatever. And another, I guess this kind of relates to the post-traumatic stress disorder, but you can become depressed in the army. It's depressing. Let's call it like this, everybody gets depressed, right? Girls, guys, you know, girls gain weight, they get fat, because normally they do office jobs. They're not out like in the field doing physical work most of the time, whereas the guys do, but your weight can also get out of control in the military, because there's not as much emphasis on physical exercise as you would think, right? You think the military, you wake up every day, go on your 5K run, you do your push-ups or whatever. In reality, you're not doing those things every single day. Maybe once or twice a week, you get up, you do your run and your little exercise session or whatever, but I would say 90% of the time, it was up to me to do exercise. If I wanted to exercise, it was up to me to exercise, right? Which I did, fortunately, because I had a fitness background. But just keep that in mind, that like it's up to you to solve your own depression, right? A lot of people are depressed for various reasons. Maybe you get a punishment and you're not allowed to go home that weekend. You've been on base already for 3 weeks, but you fuck up because you're tired, you're sleep deprived, and you maybe snap at your officer. Something you do not do. You answer back to your company commander when you shouldn't. You should keep your fucking mouth shut. But you're sleep deprived and irritated, so you say the wrong thing, boom, guess what? You're staying on base for another 3 weeks. Nothing you can do about it. Done, that's it. Have fun, enjoy while everybody else goes home. You know, sucks. And you're gonna get depressed. You're gonna feel bad. Nothing you can do about that, right? What are you gonna do? You're gonna run away? You're gonna escape? Like, okay, you can try. Have fun going to military jail. Like, they're not going to let you out that easily. This is the point. What's another reason you shouldn't join the military? The food is not great either, right? You don't have a lot of control over what you eat. You can't, as far as I know, take any supplements or medications. I don't know, maybe you can. I never did, although that probably would have helped me. So, you know, you eat what there is. You eat what's available. And if you don't eat that food, if you don't want to eat that food, then you don't eat. Straight up. You have sometimes a little store on base where you can buy snacks, but you don't have like a Whole Foods where you can go and buy your like grass-fed beef and like cook it up whenever you want. You are essentially, you're a slave / prisoner who is expected to sacrifice their life at any time. Okay, that's another reason you shouldn't join. You could die. You actually could die. And in the Israeli military, at least, occasionally what they will do is they will have some big officer come and talk to you, and they will tell you, they'll try to scare the shit out of you. And they'll be like, yeah, you know, we just got some reports, like in Lebanon they're doing this, in Syria they're doing that. and we expect that we will be at war in less than 2 weeks. And you're like, oh shit, like with this general come talk to us, and he says we're going to war in less than 2 weeks, I better like get my shit together, you know? Like you start, they call it lechol sratim, you start eating movies, you start like thinking crazy thoughts in your head, like there's all this stuff I didn't do with my life, and that combined with like, now I have to train extra hard, I have to train on my own time, which I did several times, right? I was like, and really why they do it is because they want to keep you on your toes, is really what it is. Like, probably not actually going to go to war, but what are they going to say? Like, okay, actually everything's fine, guys. Like, Lebanon, they're not doing anything. Syria, they're not doing anything. Everything's totally cool. You guys can just chill out and relax. Like, don't worry about it. Of course they're not going to say that. They're going to say the opposite. Like, shit's going to go down. Like, I remember before I joined, right? It was like the day before or the week before or something. They took us to a ceremony, and we had some like actually like big general come talk to us, and he was speaking Hebrew, and at the time my Hebrew wasn't very good, but after he was done talking, I was like spacing out, whatever. After I was done talking, you know, okay, great, now we can speak English again. I noticed everybody looked a little sad, right? All the other like foreigners who I was joining with. Everyone looked a little sad, and I was like, you know, what's wrong? Like, did he say something bad? And they're like, yeah, like he basically just said like he expects every single one of us to go to war in the time that we're serving, and that some of us are probably going to die. And I was like, oh, fuck, okay, well, and you think to yourself like, okay, well, I guess this is why I came here. I guess this is why I chose to do the military, because at the end of the day, like, there is something to risking your life, right? You basically, you join the military. If you choose a combat unit, you want to risk your life, but you want to win when you risk your life. You don't want to like get shot in the fucking back unexpectedly by an ambush, or get a grenade like blowing the shit out of you without you having a chance in your first mission. You know what I mean? Like, you want it to be some sort of a fair fight. You imagine it being a fair fight. You imagine like having advanced knowledge and having it be evenly matched in some way. But it's, you know, it's combat. It's not always like that, you know? Straight up, like, you're not gonna like wait for the other guy to like get situated and then start shooting. It just doesn't work like that. You're trying to win. You play to win. There's no second place. Either you win or you lose. And that's something to keep in mind. You know, nobody that I know ever died in my unit. Actually, that's not true. It was after I had gotten out. One of the like non-commissioned officers who was in for like 20 years, this guy Rami, he died. You know, I don't remember how he died. I think he got shot or something. But like, he's a very nice guy, right? He was like, the one thing that you remember about Rami is that like, you have these like non-coms who stay in for a very long time. They like drive trucks, or they work in the kitchen or something. It's like a job for them. This guy was like, I don't know, 35, maybe older, right? Maybe 40 years old. And he was always super nice to people. Like, you know, the army's not an easy thing. Sometimes you're stressed out, you're sad. And he would never, despite the fact that he was extremely high ranking, could tell us to do whatever he wanted and we would have to do it. He was always very nice about it. He would ask nicely. He would like always have a kind word for us. He would notice if we were maybe a little bit more stressed out, a little bit more depressed than usual, and just kind of not like be like a grandma to us or anything like that, but he was always very, it's not hard to be nice in the military because the top people are rarely nice. They're not nice. They're just not nice, the top officers. It doesn't attract people who are nice, or maybe they're just not incentivized to be nice. I'm not sure. Another reason you shouldn't join the army, like I said, officers are fucking assholes, and most of the time they're stupid assholes. Holy shit. Like, occasionally you'll get an officer who like has his head on straight and has good like communication skills and good social intelligence, let's call it. But I remember, I should make another video about this. Our officer, he was a new officer, right? Like in the Israeli army, you train for a year. You have 1 year of training, which is like basic, advanced, and then you do like easy missions, let's call them, right? Where like you're probably not gonna get killed, where you like go and make all your mistakes. Easy missions / easy territory, right? And after we finished our 1 year of training, we got a new officer immediately, because the officers and commanders that you train with during your year of training, once you're done with your year, you go your separate ways, right? You like break apart and you chever distance, like they're not your commanders anymore. You can like talk to them normally without having to like overly like respect them. It's like the ceremonial thing. But anyway, we got a new officer, and this guy he had something to prove. Let me tell you, like, occasionally you'll get guys like this, because like who goes to be an officer, right? It's like these people, they got something to prove, they're ambitious, they have this idea in their head that they're going to be the best. Their unit, they're going to train their unit right. They're going to not do all the things that their officer did that were wrong. So this guy, he was like, he came from the Palsar, which is like kind of a special unit, and he wanted to be an officer in the Gdudim, which is like the basic infantry, which is where I was. He was so hard on us. He thought we were in the Palsar. He actually did. Like, we were sleep deprived. He made us train harder, which in retrospect, I look at it now and I'm appreciative that he did that, because as a result, our unit was the best unit when we moved on past our training, as a result of the combination of our, like, the officers and commanders who trained us during our training, who were also amazing, like incredible. And then this guy who just had a hard on for everybody, he trained the shit out of us, like 2-3 times as much as any other unit. The combination of those two things, we were like the elite unit. Like, we'd always get the hardest missions in our company because of those two reasons. Like, we'd even make a joke, like we'd go down to the field, right, and we'd be driving by like some like massive mountain, right? Like, no, we would never do an exercise there, like too big, right? And we'd all like point at it and be like, like that's the target of platoon number 1, right? Like, as a joke, like, because they would always fuck us. They would always like give us the hardest job just because, right? Yeah, sometimes you get guys like that, and you hear me tell the story now and it sounds like I'm like laughing about it, I'm joking about it, which I can do from my comfortable cafe in Vietnam, you know, on my like second espresso and my nice little cup of tea here, where I have no worries. And if I want to close my laptop and go take a nap, I'll go do that instantly if I want, right? But like, when you're taking a bus into the field for 4 days and you're not going to see, like, you're not going to use really any electricity or like take a shit in an actual toilet for the next 4 days, you're going to be eating tuna fish and, you know, seasoning your sandwich with like the juice from a can of green olives. You're not going to like you can't just like stop if you want. You can't be like, actually guys, I'm gonna sit this one out, I'm just gonna like chill in the bus, or I'm gonna take a cab home, don't worry about me, I'll be all right, you guys have fun though. It doesn't work like that. You can't really get out of it. And then final thing, I guess, is that you can't really get out of the army once you join. Okay, you can, but the ways where you actually get out completely are dishonorable, not just in terms of a dishonorable discharge, but things like attempting suicide, right? Regardless, mental health, blah, blah, blah. Like, in the military, when you feel like you have a responsibility to the people in your unit to kind of, or not, I guess not really attempting suicide, but like faking it, you know what I mean? Like taking like a couple sleeping pills, actually a couple, and saying you took 50, right? Or talking about saying that you want to, right? Like, if you do it for attention, and let's be real, like mental health, you know, fucking helicopter moms out there, like, yes, I understand suicide is real, people kill themselves, it's very bad, we should pay attention to those people. Some people abuse that instant, let's call it argument winner, especially in the military, and they're like, I can't do this anymore, I'm gonna kill myself. And like, you have to honor that straight up. You can't be like, oh, come on, dog. Just like help us like move this shit from here to here. Like, we'll talk about it later. You can't really do that. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess you could, but if some guy like actually pretends like he's serious, really, like, you can load your gun and fucking chamber around. You're pretty serious. You know what I mean? You got to send that guy to the psychologist. He's probably going to get out soon. You know what I mean? Got to go through the bureaucracy, but like, you're probably going to get out if you do that. However, then you have it on your record permanently. And there is a permanent record in Israel, by the way. You know, in America, probably not. In Israel, there is. That you got out of the army because you said you were going to kill yourself or you became suicidal. That's going to fuck you later in life, right? You better have like a great idea for a startup, or be like an ace salesperson, or be the next like Mark Zuckerberg or something. Invent something that people need in order to overcome that, because that shit is no joke. So you can't really get out of it, you know. I believe me, I tried. I was like, you have this one. They're normally girls, and it's called a mashakitash, which is like, she's responsible for making sure that you have like all of your, I don't want to say everything you need, but like really kind of like, not your mental health is okay, but like, you know, that like your rent is paid for, and like you have bed sheets and you have enough money to buy food, and like being treated fairly. It's kind of like what she's responsible for. And every time I saw this girl, every single time, towards, I would say, like the last maybe 4 or 5 months of my service, I'd be like, I wanted a kitzur shirut, right? Which is like a shortening of your service. I would like make a beeline for her and be like, let's talk about it. How do I get one? I want to get one. Let's make an appointment. And she'd be like, yeah. Let's make an appointment next week. And I'd be like, okay, next week. What day? What time? And I took her seriously. She'd never show up at the appointed time. I would get her number. She'd never answer my calls, never answer my texts. Like, they duck you, you know, because it's not really serious until you raise the stakes and make it serious. So like, I'm not saying that you should not do those things. You should actually, and she even told me this at the time, many people told me this, she's like, if you get a kitzur, you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate yourself. Like, if you just stay in, you just do the time that you committed to, when you're done, you're gonna be very happy that you did. And I was like, no, I don't care. I wanna get out now. Like, I don't care about this, I don't care about that. Like, let me out right now. And like, thank God she ducked my calls and didn't answer my texts, and I didn't drive her crazy enough. Like, if you're out there, I don't think you are, but thank you. Toda rabba for that. Anyway, those are some reasons why you might consider not moving to Israel and joining the army. You know, if you ever watch this video, random like young Jewish people of the future. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment about that, anything to do with that. If you guys want to see more videos about what it's like to serve in the IDF as a Chayal Boded or foreigner, or what it's like to move to Israel, let me know. I don't foresee this being too popular of a topic on my channel. I could be totally wrong. But I was inspired, I guess, by the ex-con YouTubers who talk about their experience, and this is as close to I can get as being a prisoner, I guess, military. Anyway, if you guys have any ideas for videos, you want to hear me talk about something else, let me know. Peace.